Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Ezekiel chapter 1, verses 15, 16, and 18, 19. Now as I beheld the living creatures, behold, one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with his four faces. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. As for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes round about them four. And when the living creatures went, the wheels went by them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Ezekiel saw the wheel.
Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. The big wheel runs by faith, and the little wheel runs by the grace of Yah. A wheel and a wheel, way in the middle of the air. Better mind, my sister, how you walk on the cross. Way in the middle of the air. Your foot might slip, but your soul be lost. Way in the middle of the air. I tell you, my brother, what a hypocrite will do. Way in the middle of the air. He'll low-rate me and he'll low-rate you. Way in the middle of the air. Well, Satan wears a clubfoot shoe. Way in the middle of the air. If you don't mind, he'll slip it on you. Way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. The big wheel runs by faith, and the little wheel runs by the grace of Yah. A wheel and a wheel, way in the middle of the air. Better mind, my sister, how you walk on the cross. Way in the middle of the air. Your foot might slip, but your soul be lost. Way in the middle of the air. I tell you, my brother, what a hypocrite will do. Way in the middle of the air. He'll low-rate me and he'll low-rate you. Way in the middle of the air. Well, Satan wears a clubfoot shoe. Way in the middle of the air. If you don't mind, he'll slip it on you. Way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way up in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way up in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way up in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way up in the middle of the air, Ezekiel saw the whale. Way in the middle of the
The oracles of the UCI, 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
You calleth in trouble, and I delivered you. I answered you in the secret place of thunder. I proved you at the waters of Meribah. Hear, O my people, and I will testify unto you. O Israel, if you will hearken unto me, there shall no strange God be in you, neither shall you worship any strange God. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Lithonia, Georgia. We're going to begin today's sermon in Exodus chapter 20, and we're going to read verses 1 through 5. Today's sermon is entitled, The Image Inside, the Inner Idol. Exodus chapter 20. And we're going to start that at verse 1.
And Elohim spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh your El, which have brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make unto you any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down yourselves to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh your El, am a jealous El, visiting the lawlessness of the fathers upon the children, onto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
Right, and we know that nobody's going to just openly open their mouths and say that they hate Elohim. It is going to be their actions that is going to declare this. It's going to be the refusal to walk in the statutes that he has given unto us. So he says, you shall not make unto you any graven image. Priest, why don't you read the definition for image?
From H6459, Pesel. From H6458, an idol, carved, graven image.
So this is something that has been created in some shape, fashion, or form. Let's go now to Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 16.
Verse 16. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And Elohim said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And Elohim created great whales and every living creature that moves, which the waters brought forth abundantly, after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
So it says that he's created, verse 20, and let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life, and fowl that may fly above earth in the open firmament. He didn't really give any indication on what these things were formed from. Go ahead.
And Elohim said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind, and it was so. And Elohim made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. So Elohim created man in his own image. In the image of El created he him, male and female created he them. And Elohim blessed them, and Elohim said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moves upon the earth.
All right, so then we have to see here the first image that was made was man. Because man was made in the image of Elohim. Man is an image. Now, it was made in the likeness of Elohim. Everything else couldn't have been made that way. Why? Because how are you going to subdue those things and have dominion over it if every other thing is made in the image of Elohim? All these other things were created, but not in his image. Then he created man in his image and said, you subdue all the other things that I've made. Why? Because you are many me. So we have to understand where the first image is. So when we start talking about inner idols, a lot of times people say, well, that can't be so. We don't understand that you are the image. And if we don't get that point first, as we go deeper, you'll end up missing those points because you don't understand that you are the original image. Let's go to Exodus chapter 32. And we must understand that all images have a purpose. When someone creates a logo that they said is going to be something that's going to represent their company, that image has a purpose. There's a desired effect when this thing was created, what they wanted it to do. Exodus chapter 32, and we're going to read verses 1 through 24.
And when the people saw that Moshe delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what has become of him.
So all it takes is just a little bit of question in our hearts, a little bit of delay in our hearts. And we turn around and walk away from everything that we have previously known. Go ahead.
And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be your gods, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
So then Israel creates an Egyptian god and said that the Egyptian god led them out of Egypt. Why exactly would an Egyptian god lead you out of Egypt? Wouldn't it be the benefit of the Egyptian god to keep you in Egypt since he is an Egyptian god? Go ahead.
You know, brother, when you look at this whole thing of what they're supplying, then you understand why Israel is commanded to continually supply the things necessary to keep the temple going. Mm-hmm. Y'all did it out there in your wickedness. Now let's do it in righteousness.
Right. Right. You didn't have no problem bringing forth gold to make an idol. You tell somebody to bring a juice for next Sabbath, you're going to have all kind of problems. I mean, you know, brother, I got other stuff going on. Let us say, I tell you what, bring your earrings for an idol. Man, when we pull up, it wouldn't be no space to park. What the hell y'all doing? Right. Let it be some mess. Look how fast we show up. Go ahead.
Verse 5. And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh. And they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat and to drink and rose up to play.
There's a whole lot that's said right there and rose up to play. Because what we assume is, see, we don't know exactly how the Egyptian gods operated. Okay? So one thing that you have to ask yourself, what makes us like those gods so much? And what would make Yahweh so angry that he would come down and take care of this business this heavily? Was it the image? They did all of these things. They made a feast and then they rose up to play. You might want to do some research on some of the heathen gatherings and find out how they play. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Go, get you down, for your people, which you brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be your gods, O Israel, which have brought you up out of the land of Egypt.
Now understand, Yahweh knows the manner of Israel. He knows that a little pause, and that's all it takes for Israel to flip out on you. So the whole time, he's keeping Moshe right there, knowing he know what they're doing. He could have stopped at any time. You know what, man? Let's stop this conversation. Because your people down there tripping. Go ahead.
And Yahweh said unto Moshe, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my anger may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them, and I'll make of you a great nation.
Now, what's interesting is you have the great power of Yahweh Elohim, omnipotent, omnipresent, and the question is, now therefore let me alone. Wait a minute. Yahweh has so much power, but he asks his servant, let me alone. Now let me do this. This also tells you the power of the servant. Now let me alone. Now I have all power. I have all everything, but please don't ask me to say these people. If you just consent, I swear for myself, I make a whole nation out of you. I swear on my own great name. Yes, I will. Matter of fact, I like the way it sounds. 12 tribes of Moshe. Let me do it for you. Won't I do it? Yes, I will. He asked him, let me alone. Go ahead.
And Moshe besought Yahweh his El, and said, Yahweh, why does your wrath wax hot against your people?
You see that? He didn't let him alone. Let this be a small lesson for anybody who's trying to run a house. If you think you're going to run a house by giving everybody in the house what they ask you for, you ain't got no business with a house. Here is a servant who will not even give his God what he asked for when he says, it's not good, it's not good. I know you're angry. But this is my people. And yes, it might be great to have 12 tribes of me. But please, I've been alienated from these people so long. I want to see them saved. Go ahead.
Which you have brought forth out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand. Wherefore should the Egyptians speak and say, for mischief did he bring them out, to slay them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth. Turn from your fierce anger and repent of this evil against your people.
Repent of this evil. A man tells his God to repent of this evil. But he didn't go on his own things of what he think, feel, and believe. He knew how to approach his God. He said, but you got a great name. Now what's going to become of your great name if you'll go ahead and get rid of all of them right now? I know. They evil. You know your people. They don't listen. They hard-headed. Soon as something wrong with them, they're going to come to you. Soon as something right with them, they're going to run from you. You know your people. But don't get rid of them. Go ahead.
Remember Abraham, Esaac, and Israel, your servants, to whom you sweareth your own self, and said unto them, I'll multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and all this land that I have spoken of will I give unto your seed, and they shall inherit it forever. And Yahweh repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people.
And Yahweh repented of the evil which he thought to do unto his people. Yeah, first of all, this is a very, very difficult place to stand in between a God and his creation. This is his creation. You ain't had nothing to do with his creation. But at that moment, he said, you're angry. Don't let your anger be the reason you make this decision. But Yahweh's like, okay, I give it a little time. But sooner or later, I'm going to have to kill him anyway. But, what you say, you have prevailed today. But he still didn't kill off everybody. Keep reading.
And Moshe turned and went down from the mount, and the 2 tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both their sides, on the one side and on the other were they written.
Now, this is how you run a house. He pleads for the people. All right? This is where most people mess up in running their house. They plead for an individual and then turn around and baby the individual who they pled for. No. That's not what's about to happen. He pleads for them. Then he bring that thunder when he come. No. I stopped Yahweh from bringing the thunder so I can bring it myself. Go ahead.
And the tables were the work of Elohim, and the writing was the writing of Elohim, graven upon the table. And when Yahshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moshe, there's a noise of war in the camp. And he said, it is not the voice of them that shout for mastery, neither is it the voice of them that cry out for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And it came to pass, as soon as he had came near unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing.
They playing now. Go ahead.
And Moshe's anger waxed hot, and he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount.
Okay, now wait a minute. This is the same man that said, Yahweh, please don't kill him. And as soon as he saw him, he thought ate hot. I'm talking about he boiling. Go ahead.
And he took the calf which they had made and burnt it in the fire and ground it to powder.
Now, this take a minute now. Go ahead.
And strawed it upon the water and made the children of Israel drink of it.
Check that out. Drink it. Drink your God. This is what you think a God is? They just told Yahweh, don't go on your fierce anger. But see, Yahweh's power is so amazing that if he goes on his anger, there ain't none of us left. Moshe know at least when I get through whooping him, it's still some tail left. Go ahead.
And Moshe said unto Aaron, what did this people unto you, that you brought so great a sin upon them?
Which is one reason why I tell people you want to have some job or something that you have contributed to the house of Yahweh whereby he might save you. There's no reason why Aaron should be living after this. No reason. He has done the greatest amount of the sin in the whole thing. Yeah, the people did that. He put forth the image. He done built the altar. He has presided as a priest over a strange God offering. There's no reason why he's supposed to be breathing. Might want to get yourself a job. Go ahead.
And Aaron said, let not the anger of my master wax hot. You know the people, that they're set on mischief. For they said unto me, make us gods, which shall go before us. First for this Moshe, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we know not what is become of him. And I said unto them, whosoever has any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me. Then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf.
Right, the calf just came out the fire. He threw the gold in, and the golden calf came out. Now, creating an image robs Elohim of his glory, because the honor of the triumph is given unto the image instead of Elohim. The image has now been made equal unto Elohim, as if the carved thing can perform the same as the carver of the thing. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 44.
You know, brother, in that situation, we see that Aaron actually confessed to his part. I told him to break the earrings off. Most people have been out, they just sit on mischief. You know how they are. I was afraid of them.
And that's what all those words said. You know the people that they set on mischief. There was a whole lot in there. He was afraid. He didn't try to lessen his part of it though. But he was. Same thing was wrong with King Saul. He's supposed to be a big bad man, but he was scared. People start getting, I'm worried, the people. Hey man, we have that same effect right here. Let 15 of us get at that corner store. Hey man, they're gonna have helicopters and everything, right? Hey man, hey, I don't know, I seen 15 strong looking brothers. I don't know what they about to do. Something about to go down, man. Something going down. What y'all doing? Chilling. Looking at his car. He just got some rims. We ain't doing that. What y'all so worried about? Right. Isaiah chapter 44, and let's start that at verse 1.
Yet now hear, O Yaakov my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus says Yahweh that made you, and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Yaakov, my servant, and you, Yeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I'll pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I'll pour my spirit upon your seed, and my blessing upon your offspring. And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Yaakov, and another shall subscribe with his hand unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel.
Right, and if it wasn't for the various slave trades and the transporting of our people all over the globe, why would that even be necessary? Why would the children of Israel have to surname themselves? Because we received the names of the slave masters who owned us. And what do? Turn around and start fights about the name, man. The Johnson name means something. Yeah, it means you was a slave to Mr. Johnson. Congratulations. Don't come telling me how proud you are about the Johnson name. People got beat to accept that name. But when our people are coming out of that gross darkness, then they start surnaming themselves. See, the only people who surname themselves is the people who learn that they're coming out of darkness. Wait a minute. My name not only represents who I am, it represents who I serve. So if I'm constantly called by the name of the heathen, what do I worship and who is my God? Why did they give Daniel another name? So that his name would glorify the God of his ruler. Right. Go ahead.
Thus says Yahweh, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts. I am the first, and I am the last, and besides me there is no El. And who, as I, shall call and shall declare it, and set it in order for me, since I appointed the ancient people, and the things that are coming, and shall come, let them show unto them. Fear you not, neither be afraid. Have not I told you from that time, and have declared it? You are even my witnesses. Is there a El beside me? Yea, there is no Elohim. I know not any.
Right. And because the children of Israel are his witnesses, and the adversary, the devil, rules greatly upon the earth, Yahweh had to put us in a witness protection program. Because Lucifer trying to kill us. He left us alone as long as we was on his team. Long as we went to his parties and did what was pleasing unto him. We come out of that, we got to go in witness protection program. What happened when you go in the witness protection program? They give you another name. Right. Go ahead.
They that make a graven images are all of them vanity, and their delectable things shall not profit, and they are their own witnesses. They see not nor know that they may be ashamed. Who has formed a god or molten a graven image that is profitable for nothing? Behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed, and the workmen, they are of men. Let them all be gathered together, let them stand up, yet they shall fear, and they shall be ashamed together. The smith with the tongs both worketh in the coals, and fashioneth with hammers, and worketh it with the strength of his arms. Yea, he is hungry, and his strength fails. He drinks no water, and is faint. The carpenter stretches out his rule. He marks it out with a line. He fits it with planes, and he marks it out with the compass, and makes it after the figure of a man, according to the beauty of a man, that it may remain in the house. He hews him down cedars, and takes the cypress and the oak, which he strengthens for himself among the trees of the forest. He plants an ash, and the rain does nourish it. Then shall it be for a man to burn, for he will take thereof and warm himself. Yea, he kindles it, and bakes bread. Yea, he makes a god, and worships it. He makes it a graven image, and falls down thereto. He burns part thereof in the fire, with part thereof he eats flesh. He roasteth roast, and is satisfied. Yea, he warms himself, and says, Aha, I am warm, I have seen the fire. And the residue thereof he makes a god. Even his graven image, he falls down onto it, and worships it, and prays unto it, and says, Deliver me, for you are my God.
Now, you have to consider that. Your God is made out of the same material that you use to scramble your egg. You put that same wood and set a fire to warm yourself. With the leftover wood, they made an idol. Right?
They have not known nor understand, for he has shut their eyes that they cannot see, and their hearts that they cannot understand. And none considered in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I burnt part of it in the fire. Yea, I also have baked bread upon the coals thereof. I've roasted flesh and eaten it. And shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? He feeds on ashes. A deceived heart has turned him aside, that he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand?
Is there not a lie in my right hand? Now, it says that I have roasted flesh and eaten it. Shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? Now, we have all looked at those things where, okay, Christmas come, they bow down to the tree. But when you consider that the first of those images were carved out of wood, they were already bound down to a tree. It didn't have to be the Christmas tree. They made the idol out of the wood and then bowed down to the wooden idol. The Jesus piece didn't become gold right away. The Jesus piece was wood. Later on, the Jesus piece becomes a golden thing. Go ahead, brother. Did you finish that?
20, yeah.
Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 6. First Samuel chapter 6, and we're going to start with verses 1 through 5.
And the ark of Yahweh was in the country of the Philistines 7 months. And the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners, saying, what shall we do to the ark of Yahweh? Tell us wherewith we shall send it to his place. And they said, if you send away the ark of the Elohim of Israel, send it not empty, but in any wise return him a trespass offering. Then you shall be healed, and it shall be known to you why his hand is not removed from you.
Then you must return unto him a trespass offering. Don't send it away empty. Go ahead.
Then said they, what shall be the trespass offering which we shall return to him? They answered, 5 golden emerods and 5 golden mice, according to the number of the masters of the Philistines. For one plague was on you all, and on your masters. Wherefore you shall make images of your emerods, and images of your mice that mar the land. And you shall give glory unto the Elohim of Israel. Peradventure he will lighten his hand from off you, and from off your gods, and from off your land.
So the very Elohim that commanded us not to make images, when the ark falls into the hand of these heathens, he tells them, offer up your images. Interesting. Jump to verse 15.
And the Levites took down the ark of Yahweh, and the coffer that was with it, wherein the jewels of gold were, and put them on the great stone. And the men of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and sacrificed sacrifices the same day unto Yahweh. And when the 5 masters of the Philistines had seen it, they returned to Ekron the same day. And these are the golden emerods which the Philistines returned for a trespass offering unto Yahweh. For Ashdod 1, for Gaza 1, for Askelon 1, for Gath 1, for Ekron 1. And the golden mice, according to the number of all the cities of the Philistines belonging to the 5 masters, both of fenced cities and of country villages, even unto the great stone of Abel, whereon they set down the ark of Yahweh, which stone remains unto this day in the field of Yahshua the Bethlehemite.
All right. So then they were commanded to offer up their idols for a trespass offering. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 14. You know, sometimes it's the idol that we are so attached to. We'll give everything except that idol. That's the thing we want to hold on to the most. Ezekiel chapter 14. I'm going to start that at verse 1.
Then came certain of the elders of Israel unto me, and sat before me. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart, and put the stumbling block of their lawlessness before their face. Should I be inquired of at all by them?
Son of man, these men have set up their idols in their heart. So now we have an image that has taken a different form. The image is not something that we can hold, something that we can put in front of our face and see and touch. Now the image has taken a different form and gotten inside of us. He said, there shall no strange God be in you. Go ahead.
You know, you got to think about it. That's always that question that when most people so-called make it, you sit down in an interview, one of the first questions they ask, so who was some of your idols when you were coming up?
Mm-hmm. I never did, know earlier in life why I didn't like that word. When people would say, say, who is your idol? I mean, I ain't got no idol, man. I didn't really understand what idol meant. I just didn't. It's something about it that just didn't sit right in my spirit, even though I didn't understand what it meant. People said, well, if you want to do music or if you want to do comedy, sure, you have some idols. I said, oh, if that's what you mean, I can tell you who I like. But I can't get down with the idol part. It don't sit right with me. And nothing ever told me, hey, you should go and look up the word idol. Nah, I just don't like it. I don't really want to know the definition of it. I don't like the way it make me feel when I hear it. Go ahead.
Therefore speak unto them, and say unto them, Thus says the Adonai Yah, every man of the house of Israel that sets up his idols in his heart and puts the stumbling block of his lawlessness before his face and comes to the prophet, I, Yahweh, will answer him that comes according to the multitude of his idols, that I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols.
He said, no, move. I'm going to answer him. Said, no, he come to the prophet. Move. No, I got this. He going to come to me with this idol in his heart and think I don't see it. And he just going to walk up to me like everything good. Now move, I got this. Now when Yahweh says I'll answer him myself, them words still going to come from the prophet though. Now, the prophet might be the most confused person in the room. Because he might be on the way to say, Yahweh forgive you and may Yahweh add. Because he getting ready to say something nice. And he put forth his hand, and then what come out of his mouth is, let all your family be burned in hot fire. Let boiling. Who said that? I don't know who was saying boil your family. I didn't. That was not my intention. Yeah. Yahweh took over that mouth. And then you go home all confused. I swear I meant to say good. Now, you repenting yourself of the things that have come out of your mouth, not knowing it wasn't your mouth. Remember, he said when it come down to that point, don't think about what you're going to say. I'm going to put the words in your mouth. Now, do you then turn around and repent for the words that he put in your mouth thinking that it was you? Go ahead.
Verse 6. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus says the Adonai Yah, Repent and turn yourselves from your idols, and turn away your faces from all your abominations. For every one of the house of Israel, or of the stranger that sojourns in Israel, which separates himself from me, and sets up his idols in his heart, and puts the stumbling block of his lawlessness before his face, and comes to a prophet to inquire of him concerning me, I, Yahweh, will answer him by myself. And I'll set my face against that man, and will make him a sign and a proverb, and I'll cut him off from the midst of my people, and you shall know that I am Yahweh.
Right, but do those people walk away being angry with the prophet? They're not going to walk away saying, I can't believe Yahweh going to do this to me. But they said, is there a prophet of Yahweh here?
Yeah, it is, but I hate him. He never says anything good concerning me.
Did he say he hated Yahweh? He said he hated the prophet. So the hate goes to the servant, not the master. So when we decide to take a job, understand the job that you are taking. Your job is to receive that smoke. That's your job. Nobody's going to go straight to Yahweh and show their disdain. They're going to come to one of his servants. And if you can't handle that smoke, don't sign up. Because the people who had indignation with him going to bring their indignation to you. Go ahead.
And you shall know that I am Yahweh. And if the prophet be deceived when he has spoken a thing, I, Yahweh, have deceived that prophet.
Hey, he said I'm going to answer by myself. I'm going to take care of this right here. Go ahead.
And I'll stretch out my hand upon him, and will destroy him from the midst of my people Israel. And they shall bear the punishment of their lawlessness. The punishment of the prophet shall be even as the punishment of him that seeks unto him.
Because you have to think now, at a point, the prophet wants to say one thing, or he thinks he's going to say one thing, and then something else is given unto him to speak. What if he still fights against that? Now he produces a mixed message. Go ahead.
That the house of Israel may go no more astray from me, neither be polluted any more with all their transgressions, but that they may be my people, and I may be their El, says Yahweh Elohim.
All right, so when we get down to this, and if something is approached in a different way, then Yahweh said, I am going to answer this by myself. So I want you to read the definition of sin here.
From H2398, kata, a primitive root properly to miss, hence figuratively and generally to sin, by interference, to forfeit, lack, expiate, repent, causatively lead astray, condemn, bear the blame, cleanse, commit sin, by fault, harm he has done, loss, miss, make, offend.
All right. Now, part of the reason that we have to go into that is there is a general thing that ends up happening whereby we attribute the things that the heathen does, and then we make that sin because the heathen did it. And if we operate like that, then we basically can't even live. And why do I say that? If we get down to Cain and Abel, who was killed?
Abel.
Who proceeded to have children, grandchildren, and children? Okay, so anything that there is to do in the earth, the evil did it first. So if you're going to let somebody come and tell you that, well, you know what, these evil people did it. Evil people did everything first. What's your problem? So now I can't walk down the street because the evil people walk down the street. You can't do that, bro. That's evil. Man, you can't eat that cornbread. Evil people eat cornbread. You just going to eat those green beans just like that? Man, you're going to die. Man, you know how many evil people done eat green beans? I want you to read 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4.
Whosoever commits sin transgress also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law.
Sin is not what an evil person has done. Because a person is evil does not mean that everything that they have done is sin. Giving his kids a gift ain't sin. We have to make some decisions here. Go to Romans verse 4. I want you to read that. Y'all ain't got to go there. Priest's going to read it. Go ahead.
Because the law works wrath, for where no law is, there is no transgression.
Now, we know that there are situations where it says him that knows to do good and does it not, it is sin unto him. But if somebody is going to convict you of something that is sinful, then they must present to you some law that you have transgressed. So what we end up is now we have these ideals where people say you can't do this and you can't do that because some evil people did it. Read the next note we got right there, bro.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 11. If you then, being evil, know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your Father which is in heaven give good things to them that ask him?
So the evil know how to give good gifts. So now because the evil does that, am I now barred from giving my kids a gift? Because evil people did it, now I can't do it. I'm barred because all we got to do is find one evil person who did it. And now we are absolutely barred from doing that thing. If that's the case, man, then the adversary of the devil is our God. Then he's dictating what it is we're going to do and what we're not going to do. Let's go to Matthew chapter 14. We're going to read verses 6 through 8.
But when Herod's birthday was kept, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Whereupon he promised with an oath to give her whatsoever she would ask. And she, being before instructed of her mother, said, Give me here Johannes Baptist's head in a charger.
Now, instead of dealing with, okay, there's some wicked people who gather together to do some wicked things, now you have a whole doctrine in Israel, birthday parties is absolutely evil. Why? Because the evil people did something evil? Evil do evil all the time. Evil will do evil when it wake up. Evil will do evil before it lay down. Evil will do evil at breakfast. Evil does evil at lunch. Should I not have breakfast nor lunch? Let's read Pharaoh's birthday party. Go to Genesis chapter 40. This is when somebody said that let everything be established by 2 or more witnesses. And this is when folks really think they got something here. It is amazing how often we have to go back into this.
Verse 20. And it came to pass the 3rd day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again. And he gave the cup unto Pharaoh's hand. But he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them.
There we go. Now the people who anti-birthday.
Now you see that's a death. That's 2 deaths right there on birthdays right there. Birthday is the devil. Birthdays is the devil, absolute. Look how much death happened right there on the birthday.
And these are the things that we're going to use to allow ourselves to be directed. Because the heathen does this, there are certain things that we don't partake in, you know, lighting of the candles and things like that. But let's say somebody decided that they wanted to. Now, is like hell going to open up and eat these people because they decided that, you know what, I'm going to put my age on my cake this time. It is amazing how we make what heathens do all of a sudden the law. And we know that there has to be some kind of system of accountability in Israel because we have too many things that are dictated by certain ages. Read Exodus chapter 30 and verse 14.
Everyone that passes among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto Yahweh.
Now, how do you hold them accountable for having that offering if you don't know their age? How do you hold them accountable for that? Do you just look and say, you know what, you got just a little bit of hair on your top lip, that look 20. That look 20 right there, you look 20-esque. So we finna, you go ahead and go ahead. Because you know, hey, some people get early facial hair, some of them don't. And let's say, you know, some of y'all might have African in you. They don't grow, they be 60 and don't have not one stitch of hair on their face. Then what you gonna do then? He gonna be 60 years old like as soon as he turned 20. Yeah. That what you gonna do? That what you gonna do? That's how you gonna do that? You gonna hold a man accountable by what you think his age may be? Well, somebody has to be keeping an account. Let's go to Numbers chapter 4.
Numbers 4 verses 2 through 3. Take the sum of the sons of Kohath from among the sons of Levi, after their families, by the house of their fathers, from 30 years old and upward, even on to 50 years old.
Wait a minute, you have two distinct groups that you are separating at this point, from 30 to 50. Now, you already had a separation between those who were 20 because they must give an offering. They must give an account for their own souls. Now you have a distinct group between 30 and 50. Who's keeping all these records? Okay.
All that enter into the host to do the work in the tabernacle of the congregation.
Right. So now we're talking about accountability. A man has to be 30 before he's allowed to do that work. Wait a minute now. If that's the case, that means there's judgment if somebody set forth and start touching things that they ain't got no business touching. They say, yeah, this brother comes from, you know, a good family, such and such and such and such. Then he put his hands on it and then somebody died. What happened? Oh, he was 29.
Well, we done got our math wrong, ain't it? We should have took the remainder and then we should have brought the one. Oh, and we didn't bring down that's what we did. We didn't bring down the one. Damn.
Now somebody dead because you didn't bring down the one. Okay. All right. Right. Now he gonna hold you accountable like that, but there's nothing going on to make an account of this? How can you hold somebody accountable unto death, but there's no accounting as to how that takes place? Then at 50, he gets to retire. Retirement at the point where he does not do any more work, but he advises. So then what happens if you get one of those young-looking 50ers? And he's like, yes, brothers, why don't y'all take this and move it over here? It'll be stronger. Then somebody else come in.
Look at him, man. Is he healthy? I mean, I don't see him moving his hand at all. I don't see him doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? Is he well? Is he well? Maybe he's an idol. He done turned himself into an idol. Why is he not down here swinging the hammer? I don't ever see him picking up a hammer.
I'm just saying. Go ahead.
That was it. That was that.
That was that. Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 8. First Corinthians chapter 8, we're going to read verses 4 through 13.
As concerning therefore the eating of those things that are offered in sacrifice unto idols, we know that an idol is nothing in the world.
Wait a minute, what do we know?
An idol is nothing.
See, that's when we have knowledge and understanding of what it is we're dealing with. See, we want to make ourselves held by the thought process of some weaker individuals. I'm not held by that. I remember, when you get, suspended a lot, you had to go to your grandmama's house, and grandmama have all them stories about roots and stuff like that. They put it, and they don't call it no root back then. They said a rut. They put that rut on you. I said, what? Grandmama tell me more about that rut. Yeah, they put that rut on you. I said, well, such and such. I said, well, what happened? Then you got to go to a rut doctor. I said, what's a rut doctor? She said, that's a person who worked the good side of ruts. I said, what, there's a good rut and a bad rut? I said, so you know any good rut doctors? She said, baby, that stuff work on people who believe in it. I said, what you say to that, Grandma? She said, that work on people that believe in it. Oh, okay. All right. So I realized that there was people in my family who knew good rut doctors. And they operated as such. There were people right around them. And it took my older brother to tell me, you notice that Big Mama don't ever deal with that lady over there? He said, they the same age. But Big Mama don't deal with her. The most Big Mama say is hey and bye. So what happened? Oh, she wasn't a rut doctor. Right across the street. I said, now that's interesting. She said, but I don't deal with that. But a whole lot of other people did. Go ahead, bro.
And that there's none other Elohim but one.
Mm-hmm. Now that's what we know. But the people who believe in that has now given it some credence. Now they're talking about things that they couldn't possibly prove. That's why it says, don't let your listen to other people with stories vainly puffed up by their minds, giving you stories of angels that they couldn't possibly prove. How's somebody gonna tell you something about angels? Well, so where were you when this happened? Well, the fallen angels, see, they came down and then they did such and such. They did? Where you think that at? Tell me where you were when that happened. Right. Vainly puffed up by somebody else's mind, and now you've taken the story. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
For though there be that are called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, as there be gods many, and masters many.
Uh-huh.
But to us, there's but one El.
But to us. See, you got to figure out if you us or you them. You have to figure out if you, I can't tell you that you us. You got to tell you that you us. See, but to us, there's one Elohim. But if you them. Go ahead.
The Father, of whom are all things, and we in him. And one Adonai, Yahshua HaMashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him.
Uh-huh.
Howbeit, there's not in every man that knowledge.
Okay, however, go ahead.
For some, with conscience of the idol, unto this hour, eat it as a thing offered unto an idol, and their conscience, being weak, is defiled.
Now, their conscience is weak, and now they have problems in their mind about the idol. We know the idol don't exist. Man, the idol was made out of wood, bro. The same wood that they warm their house with. The same wood that they use to cook their eggs. They set the fire with that wood, bro. Go ahead.
But meat commandeth us not to Elohim. For neither, if we eat, are we the better, neither if we eat not are we the worse. But take heed lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. For if any man see you, which has knowledge, sit at meat in the idol's temple, shall not the conscience of him which is weak be emboldened to eat those things which are offered to idols?
Now, wait a minute. We are not bound because the idol is real. We are bound because some weak brother or sister may see it and take it a different way. See, it's important to know why you're bound, because you might think you're bound for the wrong reason. Go ahead.
And through your knowledge shall the weak brother perish, for whom the Mashiach died.
Through your knowledge, the weak brother has perished. Because you know the idol is nothing, but this person has seen you do something, and now they all but dead now. Why? Because they believe that those idols are real. Even though they claim not to worship them. We still, we keep a little hint of minty freshness in there for those other idols that we used to hang. We used to kicks it. We still got our St. Patrick's Day outfit still sitting in the closet. We still got our favorite Christmas ornaments. It's way in the attic, but we ain't got rid of it. Because I made that one with these hands. All right. Go ahead.
But when you sin so against the brethren and wound their weak conscience, you sin against Yahshua. Wherefore, if meat make my brother to offend, I'll eat no flesh while the world stands, lest I make my brother to offend.
Right. So please don't misunderstand why we forbear certain things. It ain't because we are commanded, because we know the idol don't exist in the first place. But now you have all of these things. People say, you can't do this, you can't do that. Hey, brother, if you take 2 steps and turn to the left, you can't split that pole. See, if you split the pole, come on there, brother, you know what, hey, brother, you crossed that crack, you broke your mama back. Brother, you can't do that. Come on, man. For real? For real? This what we doing? This what we doing? This how we doing it? Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 8. So these are the things that Moshe was able to have knowledge of watching Israel. He was able to be in Pharaoh's house, so he knew exactly how to worship the gods. There's one thing that we haven't considered at all, because the Bible doesn't go into it. If Moshe didn't leave till he was 40, you do understand that he worshiped those gods too, right? You do understand he participated in all the festivities of those other gods, right? You do understand that you're not going to be in Pharaoh's house and not worship the man God himself. You do understand that, right? But I know some of us can only deal with things. No, man, we got to deal with as it is written, brother. As it is written. There's certain things that ain't written. He was there 40 years. Pharaoh was a man god. You ain't staying in his house and not worship his gods, and he got everything portrayed on the wall. Sometimes Yahweh make you learn in the ugliest fashion. He learned it so much, he learned to hate it. So even when they tried something, he can look at that twitch in their left eyebrow. I know what you're about to do. I know that little ugly left twitch. I know it. Yeah, you about to worship the wing god, ain't you? Yes, yeah. I can see the wing fluttering in the left eye. Right. You can't trick no tricker. He said, no. I know this deeper than y'all. I was in the house. Y'all was outside the house. Whole time he being trained. For little bitty isms and schisms. What did the children of Israel do? Take the Egyptian gods and mixed it with Elohim's principles. And he knew he had a man with a keen eye. Why? Because he knew he trained him. He knew what to look for. All right, brother, where we going? Ezekiel chapter 8. Let's start that at verse 1.
And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in my house, and the elders of Yehudah sat before me, that the hand of Yahweh Elohim fell there upon me. Then I beheld, and lo, a likeness as the appearance of fire, from the appearance of his loins even downward, fire, and from his loins even upward, as the appearance of brightness, as the color of amber. And he put forth the form of an hand, and took me by a lock of mine head. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven, and brought me into the visions of Elohim to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looks toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provokes to jealousy.
You know, I don't want y'all to go past this because, you know, a lot of times, you know, when we say, you know, God is love, and we picture, you know, God, he'll pick you up and he'll cradle you in his arms and he loves you. All right, he said he picked him up by his lock. He holding him by a lock of his head. All right, you see that? Right, huh? You see it? Yeah, take a look at all that right there. Okay, yeah. He holding him by his lock of his head. Right. Wanted to make sure you got the right image. Go ahead, brother.
And behold, the glory of the Elohim of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Then said he unto me, Son of man, lift up your eyes now the way toward the north. So I lifted up my eyes the way toward the north. And behold, northward at the gate of the altar, this image of jealousy in the entry. He said furthermore unto me, Son of man, see you what they do, even the great abominations that the house of Israel commits here, that I should go far from my sanctuary? But turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations. And he brought me to the door of the court. And when I looked, behold, a hole in the wall. Then said he unto me, Son of man, dig now in the wall. And when I had digged in the wall, behold, a door. And he said unto me, Go in, and behold the wicked abominations that they do here. So I went in and saw, and behold, every form of creeping thing, and abominable beast, and all the idols of the house of Israel, portrayed upon the wall round about.
Right, these are things that Moshe grew up watching. All that was on the wall. They had everything on the wall. Go ahead.
And there stood before them 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel.
70 men. Why 70? No, you talking about the ruling judge court.
Moshe took 70 men.
Go ahead.
And in the midst of them stood Yazaniah the son of Shaphan, with every man his censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Then said he unto me, Son of man, have you seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark?
There's a reason why he said the ancients of the house of Israel. These are the ones in charge. So they got one thing going on before the people, but when the doors close, they got their own little special gathering. They worshiping something else. Go ahead.
Every man in the chambers of his imagery. For they say, Yahweh sees us not. Yahweh has forsaken the earth. He said also unto me, Turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations that they do. Then he brought me to the door of the gate of Yahweh's house, which was toward the north. And, behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. Then said he unto me, Have you seen this, O son of man? Turn you yet again, and you shall see greater abominations than these.
So wait a minute. At this point, you have the children of Israel claiming to show up to worship Yahweh Elohim, but they have the images in their heart and are worshiping other gods while coming in his house. Right. See, the mouth will say anything. The heart gonna say something else. Go ahead.
Isn't that the same thing in the wilderness when they made the calf? What did they say? They hate be your gods, but then he turned around and said, We'll do sacrifice to Yahweh.
Right. Go ahead.
And he brought me into the inner court of Yahweh's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of Yahweh, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men with their backs towards the temple of Yahweh, and their faces toward the east, and they worship the sun toward the east.
Now, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Now, let's say you take that out of context.
Wait a minute. We pray toward the east. Oh my goodness, we worshiping wrong, y'all.
Be careful how you hear what you hear. Back up. With their backs toward the temple. See, we don't catch that part.
I always say, man, they pray toward the east. Oh my goodness, we often sin.
The east.
You see, this is why I tell people, it's real easy to grab something and say copy and share. Did you research any of that stuff before you get yourself in trouble? There might be one part in there. You got this one part, they praying toward the east, so they wrong. No, because they put their backs to the temple is what the problem was. We are supposed to direct our prayers toward the holy city. They directed theirs away. But if you don't understand that one point, another doctrine has just been created here. Right?
And as for, our international listeners too, you have to consider where the temple is from where you're at.
Right. Where the holy city is. Right. Not the temple anymore. Right.
City.
Make sure you say that. I don't want no more emails.
Them brothers said the temple's already over there. That's what we heard Kish say it over there. But wait, I'm going to back it up for you.
Go ahead.
Oh, man. That was it.
You finished that?
Yep.
All right, brother. Let's go to Genesis chapter 31. Yeah, man, we will, strain out a gnat and swallow a camel, bro. We'll find all evil in birthday cake. We'll find it in all these things, but somehow we can't find it in the liquor and the cigarette. Now we still drinking and smoking like hell.
But that's the devil. The devil is in that right there.
You don't think he in the bottom of that yak? You don't think he in there? You don't think that the devil in that Coke 45? Keep drinking it. I'm going to show you. He going to show up. And you think the cake going to kill you. The cake ain't what going to kill you. Go ahead, brother. Genesis chapter 31. We're going to read verses 17 through 35.
Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle and all his goods, which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Paddan Aram, for to go to Esaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, in that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river, and set his face toward the Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And Elohim came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that you speak not to Jacob, either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the Mount of Gilead.
Now, what's interesting, and Elohim came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that you speak not to Jacob, either good or bad. Why not either? You would think that an Elohim would say, You better not say nothing wrong to my servant. He said, Don't say nothing good to him either. Because you ain't the one blessing him. So you don't bring bad or good to him. You are absolutely insignificant in the future of his being. So don't you say nada, 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 now, nada. I bet you nada, nada, now, nada. Okay?
And Laban said to Jacob, What have you done, that you have stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword? Wherefore did you flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and did not tell me that I might have sent them away with mirth and with songs, with tabret and with harp, and have not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. You have now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt. But the Elohim of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take heed that you speak not to Jacob either good or bad.
Well, then, hey, it ain't in your power then. It ain't in, you thought it was in your power, but it ain't in your power. If my Elohim came to you, you don't worship my Elohim. You worship them images. Yet my Elohim spoke to you and told you, be careful what you say to my servant. Go ahead.
And now, though you would needs be gone, because you sore longeth after your father's house, yet wherefore have you stolen my gods?
Well, you done stole my gods. Now you didn't have to steal my gods. Go ahead.
Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I said, Peradventure you would take by force your daughters from me.
Because you are not a righteous man. Okay? Let's stop acting like, why did you do this? Because you Satan? Go ahead.
With whomsoever you find your gods, let him not live.
Now, this is how secrets between marital couples end up in death. With whomsoever you find your gods, let him not live. He don't know his wife stole them. See? So when later on some things come upon her, you have to wonder. There's so much power in this man's mouth, he has accidentally cursed his wife. Go ahead.
Before our brethren, discern you what is yours with me, and take it to you. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent.
At this point, look here, man. Yeah, I done caught y'all, but right now I need my gods. I need my images, man. These things make me feel good at night. When I'm bothered, they comfort me. Y'all took my gods. The fact that your gods can be taken, I don't know how much of a god they can. If they were God, they should have said, I ain't going with you. But they got in the bag. Somebody kidnapped your God. Go ahead.
But he found him not. Then went he out to Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them.
There's some slickness. Go ahead.
And Laban searched all the tent, but found him not. And she said to her father, Let it not displease my master that I cannot rise before you, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images.
She knew for a fact that he was not going to look under a woman on her menstrual cycle. She knew exactly where to put the gods. And she don't want these gods. She stole these images to hurt her father because her father had taken something from her. This was a little vindictiveness. There ain't nothing she can do with these gods. But now she has images amongst a holy setting that her husband is in charge of. Now what kind of judgment must he deal with that they now have these images? Interesting. Let's go to Genesis chapter 39. And she protects the image with her own body. There's a lot going on right there. There's a lot going on right there. Genesis 39, let's start that at verse 1.
And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And Yahweh was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian.
Some would say if Yahweh was with him, he wouldn't let him be sold in the first place. But as a servant, you don't get to pick how you're going to serve. We'll go enlist in service. Those people tell us what job we're going to get when we enlist. You can try all you want. Now, I'm joining and I want to be such and such. That is nice. I'm so glad you want to do that. Now go over there and get them that grass over there, right there. That grass, that's where you at, right there. Thank you for coming out. God bless. Good night. Go ahead.
And his master saw that Yahweh was with him, and that Yahweh made all that he did to prosper in his hand. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put in his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he had in the house and in the field.
So check that out. You have a heathen who has as a captive a Hebrew, and now the Elohim of the Hebrew is blessing the heathen because he has the Hebrew. But at this point, he has not mistreated the Hebrew. Okay?
And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, Lie with me. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, Behold, my master knows not what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has on my hand to my hand. There's none greater in this house than I. Neither has he kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against Elohim? And
this Genesis 39. How he know that was the man's wife? I mean, did they have a marriage certificate? Marriage certificates didn't get invented until they had interracial marriage. So, because you got some people that say, you ain't married unless you got a certificate. Where does a certificate come from? See, I should never see your marriage certificate.
Come on, preach. Come on now.
If I see your marriage certificate, there's a problem. It said Esaac took Rebekah into the tent and she became his wife. I shouldn't be able to see your marriage certificate. Read, brother.
And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there with him.
Perfect time for wrong. See, part of the situations is putting yourself in a situation. There are certain things that you look around and you see the framework. You know what? Wait a minute. Am I the only brother in here? You know what? I know what. I'm gonna get about him. This is the perfect ingredient for some mess. She knew not to do that when there was anybody else around. So now you have the perfect situation. Now remember Joseph is over all the house. So what does that mean? Those men have to obey him. Guess what? Hey, y'all two stand right there. I don't care what nobody say. Don't move from right there. What we doing? You doing what I'm telling you to do. You standing right there. But we not doing any work. Oh, you working. Oh, you working. You working right there. Stand right there. Now, when I leave, you leave. When I move, you move. Just like that. All right? So when I go into this bedroom, you going into this bedroom. You understand what I'm saying to you? Go ahead.
I mean, you got to even look at the conversation that he's having to her. He's telling her there's none greater in this house than me.
There you go. Yeah. So at that point, he should have never been alone with her. He should have never been alone. I would command, boy, there'd been somebody there at all times. Sister, brother, dog, or cat, something. Go ahead.
And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me.
Now see, now we getting into I refuse to take no for an answer. Go ahead.
And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth.
All right, now, here comes the turning point. Because now she needs to protect her image. And because she needs to protect her image, now she's going to decide to go down a certain path. Go ahead.
That she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he has brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us.
Now, the first thing is she gathers other people. You see how he's brought a Hebrew in to mock us?
No, I only see him. I only see you, the only one getting mocked in here. We don't see no problem, man.
But the first thing is, let's connect our struggles. See? But you know how he mocked y'all? The Hebrew is over y'all. Y'all African. He gonna bring this stinking Hebrew in here, and this Hebrew is telling y'all what to do. You see how he mocked us? Right. Go ahead.
He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled and got him out.
Now, don't forget the beginning of the story. It says that Joseph was well favored, a man goodly to look upon. So understand now, this is something that's pleasing in her eyes, but she said that he wanted her. What it say? A hypocrite will low rate me and a low rate you. You accuse the individual of what you did. She accuses him of sexual assault, and she is the one who sexually assaulted him. But it's amazing how many times the thought process of sexual assault come up to protect an image.
I don't want to admit that I was going to do this with the basketball team. So I got to say that the team tried to take me.
Protect his image. At this point, it's image protection mode. And somebody finna go to prison. Go ahead.
Not only that, she's actually laying out the story that they are going to tell. They're going to say, yeah, she screamed out.
There it is. She's rehearsing the lie. So if somebody asks, they going to say what was said to them. Now they are being witnesses unto this buffoonery. Go ahead.
And she laid up his garment by her until his master came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant, which you have brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, that he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did your servant to me, that his wrath was kindled.
His wrath is kindled. He ain't talking about it. All he needed was her words. All he needed to do was hear her say, he tried to lie with me. He didn't do any diligent inquiry. He didn't search. It says after this, his wrath was kindled. Go ahead.
And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in the prison.
Now, this is a bad situation. Okay, he's in prison. But because this man was of a certain stature, he got put in a certain prison. I don't know if y'all paid that attention. All right, see, there's the prison that they put us in, and then there's them prisons that, like, if Donald Trump go to jail, I mean, they got golf, they got satellite. Women come to visit on Thursdays. They're like, hey, man, who just came out your cell? Oh, that was my wife. She comes here? Yeah, we in a different jail. Interesting. This is where the king's prisoners go. That's not the same kind of jail. Just so you know. He went to a king jail. Go ahead.
But Yahweh was with Yosef and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison.
He gave him favor in the sight of a king jail. Check that out. Let's go to Acts chapter 5. So yes, he did end up going to prison. So now we have to deal with this. We have a savior of Israel who has done time in prison. Not only has he done time in prison, but he's done time in prison for sexual assault. Now, when he gets ready to save Israel, now remember, now we the same people.
Are you gonna kill me like you did that Egyptian?
Now, how many times did he have to get ready to say, "Oh, you gonna force us like you did Potiphar's wife"? Okay, you know your people. I don't know what you think you know, but you know your people. Okay. Acts chapter 5, and let's read verses 1 through 11.
But a certain man named Ananias, with Sapphira his wife, sold the possession, and kept back part of the price, his wife also being privy to it, and brought a certain part, and laid it at the apostles' feet. But Cephas said, Ananias, why has Satan filled your heart to lie to the Holy Spirit, and to keep back part of the price of the land? While it remained, was it not your own? And after it was sold, was it not in your own power? Why have you conceived this thing in your heart? You have not lied unto men, but unto Elohim.
You have not lied unto men, but unto Elohim. But who they see are men. But the difference is the men are standing there performing a job. Now, these men don't get to act as though they're Elohim in all of their life, just in the job that they're doing. Understand the difference. Go ahead.
And Ananias, hearing these words, fell down and gave up the ghost. And great fear came on all of them that heard these things. And the young man arose, wound him up, and carried him out, and buried him.
Right. You didn't see there wasn't no $10,000 funeral. They didn't embalm him. They didn't have to go do all of this stuff. No, wound him up. Wound him up. Poor people could bury like it wasn't nothing. Here we are in the daughter of Babylon, poor people, and we can't even bury our own people. They selling us $20,000 caskets, and we done bought into the hype. So now we trying to get the most. I want to send Dad away in style. Yeah, man, I put his radio in the casket. The radio? Yeah, the one in the car. I put the Dad's. I took it out the car and put it in the casket. Daddy like listen to that blues. Are you out of your mind? Wound him up, buried him. Done. No thousands of dollars have been spent. Go ahead.
And it was about the space of 3 hours after, when his wife, not knowing what was done, came in. And Cephas answered unto her, Tell me whether you sold the land for so much. And she said, Yes, for so much.
Now, she had an opportunity right there. Go ahead.
Then Cephas said unto her, How is it that you have agreed together to tempt the spirit of the Adonai? Behold, the feet of them which have buried your husband are at the door, and shall carry you out. Then fell she down straightway at his feet, and yielded up the ghost. And the young man came in, and found her dead, and carrying her forth, buried her by her husband. And great fear came upon all the church, and upon as many as heard these things.
Now, Sapphira passed up on a moment that would define her life. The question is, do we really believe that Yahweh can provide for us? Do we not believe that he could provide for us a house and a spouse? She missed the opportunity to come clean, and that opportunity will never come for her again. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 21. It's one thing to die for an image that you have created for yourself. It's something altogether different to die for an image of somebody else. She died to protect the image of her husband. So that he wouldn't look like a liar. And now she gets to be buried with him. 1 Samuel 21, and we're going to start that at verse 10. See, we go all out for these images. See, nowadays we have social media, and people are more protective of the image of them than the real them. The likeness is more important than the actual individual. You go punch somebody in the face, they might be a little mad. You put something about them on Facebook, they're like, I can't believe you did that. Are you more angry about the Facebook than actually getting punched in your face with a book? Wow, that's interesting. That's interesting. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 10. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to Achish the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said unto him, Is not this David the king of the land? Did they not sing one to another of him in dances, saying, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000?
Yes, so this is a man that has great honor among his people. Sometimes Yahweh makes sure that you have to go through something. Now, his image about to take a hit. Go ahead.
And David laid up these words in his heart, and was sore afraid of Achish the king of Gath. And he changed his behavior before them, and feigned himself mad in their hands, and scrabbled on the doors of the gate, and let his spittle fall down upon his beard.
So he got spit running out his mouth. He got to now act like he crazy. But it's the same one that sung songs when David showed up. His image taking a hit right now. So Yahweh making him sacrifice his image. What?
Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, you see the man is mad. Wherefore then have you brought him to me? Have I need of madmen, that you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house? David therefore departed thence, and escaped to the cave Adullam. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto him, and he became a captain over them. And there were with him about 400 men.
Now wait a minute. You're talking about a man who they sing when he come in. His image has taken a hit, that he has to play like he's crazy. Then he goes and he's now living in a cave. His image takes a hit. You know, we can't help but remind you when you fall. Ain't that the brother that used to have the Mercedes? Who you talking about? Buddy right there on the number 34. Buddy at the 34 Gresham. Ain't that buddy that was in the Benz? Ain't he on that 34 Gresham? Yeah, right there. He just got a transfer. Oh, we can't help but make sure we remember. His image taking a hit. But you have to pay attention to what else is going on. Verse 2. And everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented, gathered themselves unto David. Yahweh building his kingdom out of all the people who've been mistreated in other places. But here's where things get interesting. See, they came because they were mistreated somewhere else. So something forced them there. But to continue, they have to want to stay with David more than the hardship that brought them to him. Sometimes people come in the congregation for one thing, but the reason you stay has to be greater than the reason you came. See, some people showed up because they were making sure that the woman wasn't doing nothing. Some women came to make sure that the man wasn't doing something. Some people came because they said, you know what, my husband's life in danger. Those were just things that Yahweh used to trick you to get you here. the reason you stay here has to be greater than the reason he brought you. That's what you're waiting for to get a job. You ain't waiting the real 6-month rule. That ain't what you're waiting for. You're waiting because I know what I'm doing. I'm waiting for the reason that you stay to be greater than the reason you came. And I know the stories behind each person coming to that door. That's what has to happen here. Yeah, they in debt. They discontented. They got all these problems. But that can't be the reason they stay. Because if it is, they're not fit to work with him. Because they're going to still have that indignation. I'm only, as soon as I get the opportunity to get the hell out of here, I'm out. Hey, I began this walk 3 years by myself. Everybody come in this word ain't got no vainglorious story.
You know, I was just sitting there thinking about a psalm and the word said, go yonder.
That ain't how I got in here. And Yahweh had to put me in training until my reason for staying was better than my reason for coming. Once you get past that, now you can go to work. Because that chip got to get off your shoulder. When that chip is still there, even when you work, you're going to work with a discontent. Because you ain't got that chip off your shoulder yet.
I didn't even want to come in here, but my husband decided he wanted to come in here. And you stay for a while. That's nice. You know what? You know what? Maybe
Now you're ready. Now you're ready. But that's got to come off there. And until that come off, all your work's going to be blemished anyway. Keep reading, bro.
And David went thence to Mizpah of Moab, and he said unto the king of Moab, Let my father and my mother, I pray you, come forth and be with you, till I know what Elohim will do for me. And he brought them before the king of Moab, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold. And the prophet Gad said unto David, Abide not in the hold, depart and get you into the land of Yehudah. Then David departed and came into the forest of Hereth. When Saul heard that David was distressed, and the men that were with him, now Saul abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah.
All right, that's all I want to go there. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 1. Now, Yahweh still provides a place for him, but he still got to take that image hit. He still got to take, this is a long fall from having them sing about the great 10,000s that you have brought to their knees for Yahweh, and now you hiding in a cave. But if you ain't willing to sacrifice that image, see, it sounds strange when you think about it in the beginning that Yahweh told them, no, sacrifice your images unto that on that ark. Are you willing to sacrifice that image? We all got one. If you think otherwise, you're lying to yourself. Are you willing to sacrifice that image? Because guess what? David becomes greater once he sacrifices that image. So you sacrifice one image and you may actually get a greater one. But because you're so strong to try to hold on to the one you got, you may never get the one he got for you. Go ahead, brother.
My son, hear the instruction of your father, and forsake not the law of your mother. For they shall be an ornament of grace unto your head, and chains about your neck. My son, if sinners entice you, consent you not. If they say, Come with us, let us lay wait for blood, let us lurk privily for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance, we shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in your lot among us, let us all have one purse. My son, walk not you in the way with them, refrain your foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird, and they lay wait for their own blood, they lurk privily for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which takes away the life of the owners thereof. Wisdom cries without, she utters her voice in the streets. She cries in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she utters her words, saying, How long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit onto you. I will make known my words unto you. Because I've called, and you refused, I've stretched out my hand, and no man regarded.
Right. I've called and you refuse. Do we get to the point where we said, no, I want it when I want it? I don't want it when Yahweh want me to want it. I want it when I want it. So since you're not going to give it to me when I want it, now I don't want it. Okay. You might want to play chicken with somebody else. Go ahead.
But you have set at naught all my counsels, and would none of my reproof. I also will laugh at your calamity. I'll mock when your fear comes. When your fear comes as desolation, and your destruction comes as a whirlwind, when distress and anguish comes upon you. Then shall they call upon me, but I'll not answer. They shall seek me early, but they shall not find me. For that they hated knowledge, and did not choose the fear of Yahweh. They would none of my counsel, they despised all my reproof. Therefore shall they eat of the fruit of their own way, and be filled with their own devices. For the turning away of the simple shall slay them, and the prosperity of fools shall destroy them. But whoso hearkens unto me shall dwell safely, and shall be quiet from fear of evil.
All right. Let's go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to start that at verse 36.
Verse 36. Then comes Yahshua with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and says unto the disciples, Sit you here while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Cephas and the two sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then says he unto them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry you here, and watch with me. And he went a little further, and fell on his face, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. And he comes unto the disciples, and finds them asleep, and says unto Cephas, What? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. Hey man, these things can hurt your feeling. He come back. What? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? Go ahead.
He went away again the second time, and prayed, saying, O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, your will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them, and went away again, and prayed the third time, saying the same words.
He prayed again, saying the same words. Go ahead.
Then comes he to his disciples, and says unto them, Sleep on now, and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners.
Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me. So what's mic failure. So what's happening at this point? He now realizes that his direction concerning this has to change. He has prayed to his Father 3 times concerning this. Once he understands that this is not going to go the way that he wants it, his thought process about the thing has to change. This is where we sometimes make our biggest mistake, because we'll just keep going in the same direction. No, at this point, he didn't go back and pray anymore. He didn't go back and do that. He told them, all right, y'all, get ready. Now, his whole mindset has to change. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. See, sometimes getting stuck in something keeps us going forward. And what happens? It's the images that cause us to do this. I've talked to people that believe that, you know, after my elder died, that his spirit was somehow still in the building. They think the walls are blessed. They don't really understand how this works. At some point when you realize when the spirit moves in a certain way, you got to change your direction. 2 Corinthians 12, and let's read 7 through 9.
At least I should be exalted above measure through the abundance of the revelations. There was given to me a thorn in the flesh, the messenger of Satan to buffet me, lest I should be exalted above measure. For this thing I besought the Adonai 3 times, that it might depart from me. And he said unto me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness.
All right. In other words, no, he's not taking it. He's not taking this thing. So at this point, he has to change his direction and how he's going to approach this thorn. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 12. It is normally the idol or an image that keeps us from being able to change directions when the spirit moves. See, it was real easy for our fathers to follow the spirit in the wilderness. They saw it move. They saw a cloud and the fire. All right, you move when it moves. It's easy to figure out. Who can't follow a cloud and fire? Who can't follow that? What happened when he takes that away? Second Samuel chapter 12, and let's start that at verse 15.
And Nathan departed unto his house, and Yahweh struck the child that Uriah's wife bare unto Dawid, and it was very sick. And Dawid therefore besought Elohim for the child. And Dawid fasted, and went in, and lay all night upon the earth.
Now, a lot of times other people are doing these things, you know, after someone has died. Dawid is praying for the health of the child. He's doing all of this now. Go ahead.
And the elders of his house arose, and went to him, to raise him up from the earth. But he would not, neither did he eat bread with them. And it came to pass on the 7th day that the child died. And the servants of Dawid feared to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spake unto him, and he would not hearken unto our voice. How will he then vex himself if we tell him that the child is dead?
So they suppose because he's low, that once they actually tell him that the child is dead, he's going to sink lower. That's not what happens. Go ahead.
But when Dawid saw that his servants whispered, Dawid perceived that the child was dead. Therefore Dawid said unto his servants, is the child dead? And they said, he's dead. And Dawid arose from the earth, and washed, and anointed himself, and changed his apparel, and came into the house of Yahweh, and worshipped. Then he came to his own house, and when he required, they set bread before him, and he did eat.
All the things that they think he's going to sink lower. But once he realizes that the Spirit has made a decision, he changed his course of action. What is sinking lower going to do? Keep reading.
Then said his servants unto him, what thing is this that you have done?
Right, they're confused. What is this that you've done? What you doing don't make no sense. You did all this while the child was alive. And now you anointed yourself, you put on good clothes, you done washed. Now you eating? This is the time that people normally be fasting. Go ahead.
You did fast and weep for the child while it was alive. But when the child was dead, you did rise and eat bread. And he said, while the child was yet alive, I fasted and wept. For I said, who can tell whether Elohim will be gracious to me, that the child may live? But now he is dead. Wherefore should I fast? Can I bring him back again? I shall go to him, but he shall not return to me.
Right. Now, in this journey of life, there are pivotal moments where the decisions we make at that one moment will in turn affect the rest of our lives. Then there are some decisions that Elohim has already decreed for us, and there is no turning back. After praying 3 times for the cup to pass, Yahshua recognized that it was not his Father's will, and so his emotion concerning that situation had to change. After Saul prayed 3 times for his thorn to be removed, and it was not, he realized that it was given him for a reason, and that it should not depart. His heart has to then change concerning that situation. He must then shift his energy toward managing his thorn instead of trying to remove it. On the opposite end of the spectrum was Sapphira. She had an opportunity to come clean and preserve her life. She chose to preserve the image of her husband. This opportunity will never be awarded her again, for she shall never be asked again, tell me whether you sold the land for so much. The ways of Elohim are unlike the ways of man. Yah, our El, made the heathens offer up their idols unto him. This is a strange practice. The same Elohim that said make no image commanded the heathen to offer up theirs unto him, considering that man was the first image, for we were created in his image. We must sacrifice our images unto him. And if we can decrease and offer up ourselves, then we have done the same thing that Yahshua has done for us. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Psalms chapter 51, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Psalms chapter 51 and verse 1. Have mercy upon me, O Elohim, according to your loving kindness, according unto the multitude of your tender mercies, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my lawlessness and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me.
I acknowledge my transgression. See, this is how you tell the difference between brothers and sisters and cousins. See, something may happen with a cousin, and the cousin finds a reason to blame somebody else. See, the cousin will turn around and say, present the same thing that Potiphar's wife did. Oh, there's something that happened, such and such. A brother and a sister will make the most difficult decisions and say, all right, we got to try to fix this within our house, instead of trying to find an excuse as to why it happened in our house. That's the difference between brothers and sisters and them cousins. Go ahead.
Against you, you only, have I sinned and done this evil in your sight, that you might be justified when you speak it, and be clear when you judge it. Behold, I was shapen in lawlessness, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you shall make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which you have broken may rejoice. Hide your face from my sins, and blot out all my lawlessness. Create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from your presence, and take not your Holy Spirit from me.
Renew a right spirit within me. Do we even know that we have entertained another spirit? Do you know enough to know that you have entertained another spirit? That you would even ask to have the spirit renewed within inside of you? Go ahead.
Restore unto me the joy of your salvation, and uphold me with your free spirit. Then will I teach transgressors your ways, and sinners shall be converted unto you.
Right, because I don't have to go to them and pretend. I can go and tell them, man, I was in the same place as you. Man, I went through some of the same things that you're going through. That's how sinners are going to be converted unto you. Because I'm going to be able to acknowledge my sin, not present an image that I ain't ever sinned. I'm going to use my sin for the betterment of glorifying my Elohim. You ain't going to sin shame me. Damn right, I did it. And if he didn't stop me, I was going to do it again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wasn't going to tell that. Read, priest.
Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O Elohim, you Elohim of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of your righteousness. O Adonai, open you my lips, and my mouth shall show forth your praise. For you desireth not sacrifice, else would I give it. You delighteth not in burnt offering.
Wait a minute. If it was sacrifice, if it was something, I can go out there and get me a goat. They got a farm right down here. We can walk down here and get us some goats. We're going to get us one. We don't know what we're going to do with it, but we're going to do something. Yeah, that's too close for a goat. Let's not try something, man. Go ahead, bro.
The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit.
Wait a minute. The sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit. Keep reading.
A broken and a contrite heart, O Elohim, you will not despise.
Wait a minute. So he requires a better offering. Well, wait a minute. So we're talking about that image. If you offer up the image here, now you've given a much greater sacrifice. That's better than any monetary thing that you can put in that box. Go ahead, bro.
Do good in your good pleasure unto Zion. Build you the walls of Jerusalem. Then shall you be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with burnt offering and whole burnt offering. Then shall they offer bullocks upon your altar.
All right. That's all that we're going to do for today. Remember, it's Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.